This week on the StressLess Camping RV podcast, we welcome Amanda Benson from Dusty Trail RV.
She offers tips on safety as well as DIY repair and maintenance for your RV.
Yes, you can conquer your own RV repairs.
We also visit a Goofy USA location.
Yeah, what's up with somebody buried a bunch of Cadillacs in Amarillo? And what's the history of that?
We'll find out.
Yep.
We have this week's podcast along with the notes and stories that go with this episode, and deals, discounts, helpful tips, and more at our home on the web at StressLessCamping.com.
Don't forget to like and share and subscribe.
And thank you for joining us for podcast episode 304.
I'm Tony.
I'm Peggy.
And we're two RV industry veterans who travel part-time
in a Rockwood Mini Light.
But not at the moment. Looking to share big adventures and help you with great tips,
tricks,
and discounts.
I forgot my line.
Oh, what's my line?
Well, because I was going to say, we do say part-time, and sometimes it seems like it's more than part-time.
Yeah.
But right now we're at our sticks and bricks, so we're home for a minute.
You can always tell by the microphones.
Yeah, you can tell by the background.
Yeah, and the background. The fact that we're in a room or an office,
of course,
whatever.
If they're only listening, they can't tell any of that.
That's true.
So we have to tell the listeners.
Yeah.
All right.
Did you know that we have travel guides on our website and they're free?
They're free, that's right. And they have just been updated a little bit, right? Our Route 66.
Yeah, the whole Route 60
guide.
thing. Route 60 thing? The whole Route 66
thing
page got redone this morning.
Oh.
And so it's got better links, more stories, lot more pictures. And the way you find it is when you go to the website, there's a hamburger menu, whether you're on a confuser or on a phone or a tablet or spacecraft viewing console.
Do they have hamburger menus?
Do they have hamburgers? Oh, but they're always stealing cows, so they must.
They must have some reason for all those cows.
Anyway, there's the hamburger menu. Look at that. Under there, it says travel guides. And boom, bang, bing, there's a few, including Route 66.
All right.
Or for some of you, Route 66.
Route 66. So we are home right now.
Yes.
But that doesn't really stop us from loving our Mastervolt upfit.
No. In fact, we have some friends who just revisited ABC Upfitters. Mm-hmm. And one of the things that we've often said is these systems are customizable, but also expandable. And Patrick and Wendy just went to ABC Upfitters and literally doubled their battery.
Holy moly, They had a lot of battery to start with.
Yeah, they did, and now it's even crazier.
Wow. And I know that Steve and Kathy are going to do some upgrading.
Oh, they are too?
I believe so.
Oh,
Yeah.
man. Well, there you go. So the nice thing is these systems are flexible. They're customized to what you want for your adventure. And you can upgrade them if you're like, I did okay, but I need a little more.
More power.
Right? If you want a flexible, reliable system that just works, give our friends at ABC Upfitters a call. And where can you do that?
Let's see. How about 574
Yeah.
333 3225?
That's 574-333-3225.
Or you can find them with a link on the page for podcast episodes or on the page for electricity, right?
Yeah, they're linked all over our website
On our
with
partners
more information.
page
And there's videos and stuff.
We really, really like them.
Yes, we do. Well, because they just do what they say, and they say what they do, and they do it well, and they're good people. So it's the kind of people we like working with.
Yep. Speaking of good people, we got to talk to a really good people this week.
Yeah.
Her name is Amanda Benson, and she has a YouTube channel called Dusty Trail RV. Tony has been watching her videos. Because Tony watches videos, I don't. So it's not like I haven't been watching her videos. I just don't watch videos.
I'm a YouTube consumer.
We really like the work that Amanda does. She makes things very simple to understand on her channel.
She's a regular person who just tackles these tasks. And we'll find out more as we interview Amanda.
Let's do it. Today, we're very pleased and happy to have Amanda Benson from Dusty Trail RV, and we are going to talk to her about a bunch of different things. So, Amanda, thank you for spending time with us and going to give us some great tips for solos, RVers, dog people.
I am very happy to be here. So thanks for having me. And we're lucky because my dog just laid down. So we might get some perfectly quiet content here, which, yes.
Well, we don't want to curse it by saying, and your dog may have something to add. You never know.
Yeah.
It's usually nothing good. Trust me.
Oh, well.
He's at that age. He's like 10-month-old Doberman.
Oh, yeah.
Also known as a Velociraptor. It's pretty great.
Amanda comes to us with a really interesting background. She has been a firefighter paramedic and has done emergency management preparation. But also, I have watched you on YouTube do all kinds of repairs to your RV. You have seemingly no fear in what you're willing to tackle.
Right. Yeah, that's probably both a good and a bad thing. So I spent the majority of my life up in Nebraska, and I was raised on a farm in rural Nebraska, so like 40 minutes from the nearest grocery store, and we were very self-sustaining out there, and that was pretty much where I picked up most of my, I can do that confidence. And yeah, so I spent just around, let me think, just around 12 years as a firefighter and a paramedic. I spent about 7 of those years on one of the FEMA urban search and rescue teams. So I'd go out, I was hazmat specialist, I was a rescue specialist, a water rescue specialist, and a plans team manager. And now I am just in emergency management, sleeping every night, loving it.
But you can't beat that experience. We just, I think we just shared with our audience that we were in Paducah, Kentucky, and we found that the hurricanes also wanted to visit Paducah, Kentucky. Hurricanes, the tornadoes. But by coincidence, there was a lady there staying at the campground who was a Red Cross employee. So it was both informative and a little unnerving to listen to as she kind of talked us through the tornado I guess it's not a tornado, we found out.
Right. So we were like, at first we were like, oh, good, someone who knows what's happening. And then when she told us what was happening, we were like, oh gosh, don't want to know what's happening.
Right.
It's like going to the dentist, right? They're like, all right, well, to do this, we're going to do that. And you're like, could I have not known?
Yep.
It just surprised me.
I think I have like towed that line for so long in my career, where it's like, how much information do you really need to know? And it's just finding that balance of this is what you should do, and this is the very vanilla reason why you should do those things. Don't need to get into all the nitty gritty. Don't need to scare people. Just give them enough to where they can confidently make a decision that is safe for them.
Yeah, our decision was do whatever that lady said to do.
Yeah, she knew what she was talking about, and so yeah.
I'm notorious. I'm a do as I say, not as I do.
Oh, right.
Because I've been in all of it for so long that, for an example, I've been down here in Florida, and that's where I do emergency management. And we just got hit with Hurricane Helene and then Hurricane Milton, and I'm in an RV. That's why we're talking. But I'm also in emergency management. So I literally was working round the clock for probably over a month, and I was telling people, hey, leave, or at least bring your rigs inland. If I can, I'll bring my rig a good hour inland, because I'm really close to the water in the Tampa Bay area. But yeah, like when Hurricane Helene hit and then bam, Hurricane Milton, I literally called my insurance company and I was like, how good is this? because it got to the point where what typically happens is people, I call it putting the quarter in. People don't want to put the quarter in. They don't want to make that big decision, cut their vacation short, pack up all their stuff and go. They don't want to do that if it's maybe going to miss them. But what happens in these disaster-prone areas is you wait, because they're like, oh, well, we know a little bit more when we're about 2-3 days out. But by the time you get to 2-3 days out, there's no fuel. And so then you have a rig and you're like, well, my vehicle is a guzzler when it hauls, and I literally cannot leave the area. So I stay and then just cross my fingers and go stay somewhere, usually within a structure that is emergency management related. So
that's the funny thing. When we were sitting in that tornado shelter, all I could think about was having to call Rockwood and say, you're not going to believe this, but I just destroyed another one.
Yep.
And I think that earlier that day, you also called our insurance company.
I did, because when we check in, it's not like, how do you do, blah, blah, blah. It's, by the way, the tornado shelter is directly under us. And
we're going to need that tomorrow, right? You sure you want to stay? And I'm like, well, we're going right in the path of where the storm is going, so we might as well stay where we already know where to go.
Yeah, because a lot of those situations, you end up, it's like a flipping of the coin. If you go up, if you go down, you don't know. You're trying to anticipate which is the best way to avoid something. And you're absolutely right. Sometimes it's best to stay where you are.
Yeah. You already knew where to take shelter. So
yeah, that's true.
Florida's lucky to have you for that.
Well, it's interesting. You brought up a point that I hadn't really thought of, is the people like yourself who put yourself in harm's way to help others. Like, what do you do with your, if you are an RVer, as obviously you are, you're in as much peril as the rest of us.
Well, more because she's full time. So
yeah. Oh yeah. That's your house.
Typically what I do, because I have roots down here, I've been in this area, minus the traveling here and there, but I'm working full time in this area for, I guess, maybe over 3 years. And because of that, I have some roots down, and that makes all the difference. And then I'm connected with other people in the field, and I have coworkers. And so typically what I do is I get my important things. I have asthma, and so I grab all my asthma medication, because I have to think to myself, okay, so first of all, you do know if your rig is out of service, who knows when it's getting repaired. And so you have to think like that. And it is a pain, because for the hurricanes, I just grab all my important documents. I grab clothes. I grab any electronics, anything that I need for work or the blog or anything like that. Enough dog food, and then enough medication. And then I just take that and go to somebody's house and leave it in their house. And typically that kind of works for me, because also when these storms hit, you have to understand that the grid in your area will probably go down. So even if your RV is fine, you might not have power for an extended period of time, and that has a negative impact for those of us who have medication or need air conditioning. Our older population, our young population are our most vulnerable, and they have a harder time regulating their body temperatures, and they typically have poorer outcomes than younger healthy people in these events. And so if you think, okay, our power's down, if you are in a rig that doesn't have a generator, let's just say you have a CPAP, or let's say you are diabetic and you have insulin, and you are using solar panels, but they don't run your air conditioner. Your solar panels won't, unless you really have something impressive going on.
Right.
And they might, like I have a 12-volt fridge that's can power off my solar panels, but my battery went out on me after Hurricane Milton, and I had no battery or anything. So if you think about that, if you have insulin, you have to refrigerate that, and you might not, even if it's a tornado, even if you're not on a coast that's impacted by hurricanes, that grid goes down, and you're only sustainable as as you've kind of prepared for. So you really have to think about that.
Well, like the people, what was it, 2 years ago in Texas when they had the whole
ice storm.
the ice storm, and their whole grid went down, and they're all hunting for propane and all that.
They're not even used to cold weather, let alone like extreme weather.
I think I like our solar and lithium system more than I ever have now. If your rig is not set up for them, our sponsor is, you're really helping us out here, is a company that installs these systems, and they're exceptional at it. We've had a system now for 3 years, and we do a lot of off-grid camping.
Yeah, and especially if you're where it's a little warmer.
So how we kind of got to know Amanda is her YouTube channel. She has tackled some pretty major repairs and service things. And we've talked to people who have RV specific training, like from the RV Technical Institute and such. But Amanda's one of us. She is, I'm going to say, just an RVer, but for lack of a better description. And yet she's doing these major repairs and maintenance items in the campground because you're a full-time RVer. How do you learn the skills that you have? Because it's clear you understand these things based on what I've watched in your videos.
I think that the big thing for me is I've always been kind of a very handy type of person. But when my home, before I became an RVer, it was a 120-year-old bungalow that needed everything. Everything. And that was like a labor of love for me. And I redid pretty much everything. I did remodels, I did plumbing, I did electrical, I did almost anything you can think of to that house. I did make an agreement with my loved ones that I would no longer do electrical work myself. But it's because I've just paid attention to what the system is. And I actually just had this conversation not too long ago with some women that I work with about a desire to just learn more. And I bring it all the way back to when I was like in like high school, and they separated the girls and the boys, right? The girls went to home ec, and the boys went to shop class. And I had to do home ec, but I also got to do shop class. And it's that type of education I don't think really happens anymore. I'm finding more, and this is interesting because in the fire service in Nebraska, it was a very, there were a lot of people that had close ties to agriculture, and they were just very hands-on people. A lot of them had a history of roofers. They did construction. They did all sorts of stuff, laid concrete. And they had a lot of that knowledge. But when I actually came down to Florida, what I was noticing is my coworkers don't have that knowledge anymore. And I think the younger generation is not being taught those things. And so what the communication that I was having with my female coworkers was, okay, you can't wait for your dad to teach you these things. And if you end up with a dad who doesn't teach you those things, because really how else do we learn those things? We were taught at a young age. You have to start studying the big picture. And what I mean by that is it's like a human body, right? We have all these systems that are working together in the human body, and the way they function impacts the rest of the systems in your body. You have your musculoskeletal, you have your pulmonary, you have your cardiac. And once you understand each of those systems, how it operates within itself, but it operates in relation to the other systems, it becomes a lot easier to kind of look at these problems and make sense of them. And so you can look at your RV as though it's a human body, or as though it's a house, or anything like that. And the big thing for me is starting with like the skin of the RV, knowing that you want to protect from the top down. So knowing that the top down, that is your most important thing for your structural integrity of your RV. And so understanding how the roof works and understanding how seams work and understanding why you need to protect those areas, that's like just the first step. And then once you kind of go down the RV, you can start getting into other things like your plumbing and understanding your water system and understanding why it works. I think it's important that we know when we turn the faucet on how that happens, how that's made possible. And the same thing with your propane system. I've talked to numerous RVers who are very, very anxious and uncomfortable with propane.
Yes.
And there's additives so that you can detect them, right? So that's a safety thing. And then most of our appliances have safety features for propane so that if it is not detecting your pilot light is lit, it will shut down the gas. And so there's little things like that that are incorporated into our propane systems that really do make them very safe. You just, like when I'm talking about people who are uncomfortable with it, I've known people that have ripped out their ovens of a new RV. And in my world, I'm like, no, don't do that, because I see propane as like a really sustainable, easy to use, affordable fuel source that if you smell it, you know you might have a leak. It's in understanding, you just need a little soapy water and you can spray it to find where the leak is. And sometimes it's as simple as just changing out the fittings, things that are so cheap. And it just makes a lot more sense to just learn the process instead of paying somebody to come in, because I think that's where you have the breakdown and people get uncomfortable, is when it's so foreign to them that they're reliant on somebody else to come in and to diagnose it, that they completely keep themselves away from it. Whereas if I smell a little propane, I'm going to open up my windows, I'm going to shut my propane down, I'm going to air everything out because you get nose blind with it. And then I'm going to sit on it for a little bit, and then I'm going to go back in, I'm going to turn my propane back on, and I'm going to wait, and I'm going to see if I start smelling those things. And it's something like that. Like, I don't just freak out and say, oh no, I smell a bad thing, and it might be in my RV. I need to call somebody to help me. I'm problem solving that myself. It's everything in your RV is like if it's troubleshooting along the line, understanding what the line is with your water. If you turn on your water and nothing comes out. Okay, so let's problem solve this. We want to go directly to the spigot. That's the first thing we want to go to, because if there's water coming from there, you know that the problem's between there and the RV, right? So it's kind of like figuring out and problem solving that type of thing and getting comfortable with it yourself.
RVs are not that complicated, but they are.
Right.
And if you are forced to wait for service, you might be most of the season, if not all the season. Yep. Some people live where, we have to winterize. It might be you're done that year versus 10 minutes with a PEX tool or something like that to solve the problem yourself. So you have you have a combination of no fear of these systems, or you're like, no, I'm going to figure this out.
Yep.
If for the normal, because I think we all encounter people who are like, ooh, or which end of the screwdriver do I hold? Right? Yeah. I know the theories, right? I got the book learning, but the screwdriver learning, I'm not the greatest. But do you have places somebody might turn to get more like you, to gain knowledge? And, we've talked to the RV Technical Institute, and we've talked to Lippert. We've been to RV Owner School. Those are both great.
Right.
But like I say, I like your I can do this attitude.
It's cheaper. It saves money too. And it's like, what I would tell people is, like, when I get into the weeds like that and I get on a project, I am angry sometimes. I am the person who is crammed halfway in the cubby yelling at an inanimate object because I'm so frustrated and it's taking me so much longer. And this is how it always happens. But it's so, when I get it fixed, it's like a great, rewarding feeling. And one of the things that I would tell people to do is live on YouTube. And something that I like to point out is how cruel, and I will say it and I'll say it again, how absolutely cruel the community can be when people are trying to learn things and when people are trying to show how to do things. So there's multiple ways to do this. If it works for you and it eradicates the problem in a way that's sustainable, so it's not just a Band-Aid fix, because there's even room for Band-Aid fixes in this, right? You got a storm, something breaks through your barrier on your roof, you have a sudden leak, that's a temporary fix, right?
Gorilla tape.
Right. But and everyone wants to armchair quarterback that. But at the end of the day, get up there and cover it. But people get so much shame when they come to these platforms, and you see it on Facebook. You see people come with these legitimate questions, and you've got a population in the RV community that will bend over backwards to help them problem solve it and to figure it out. And then you've got this subcategory of people who are just nasty, and they know better than everybody else. And what that does is it causes people to kind of shut themselves off from it, and it reaffirms these thoughts like, oh no, I can't do this. See, I wanted to kind of figure out if I can fix this myself, but I came to the community and they told me I was stupid.
Right.
Well, I've also seen, and I completely agree with you, but I've also seen where people will ask answers on Facebook or wherever, any group, because Reddit, whatever, and there are the good, really well thought through answers, and then complete misinformation.
Yep.
And it's like, there was one yesterday, and I can't remember what it was.
But it's scary.
It was
because
dangerously wrong.
Yeah, if you don't know the answer, you're not going to know which of those people is right.
And oftentimes the dangerously wrong are the most adamant about they're like, oh, blah, blah, and they're like, no, you're going to hurt somebody, dummy.
Yep. And that's and we see that, and it's important to remember that obviously the loudest voice in the room isn't always right, and it isn't always reflective of the majority opinion of things, but we do have an issue with misinformation, and it can be dangerous in the RV community.
And then comes the question, how do you vet the information that you get either on YouTube? A lot of times YouTube I don't see as big, I don't see as much bad information, but I see it as on social media. So I guess the more you know, the more you can vet this lousy information.
If I haven't learned to do anything yet, what's the first thing you would recommend that I learn to take care of on my own in my RV?
I think the first most important part about being in an RV is getting into everything. Getting into all of your nooks and crannies, figuring out, like, even just getting underneath your RV and looking at your tanks and seeing kind of where the piping might go, and getting on top of your roof. I love telescoping ladders. That's what I use because they're easy and they break down. But getting on your roof and learning how to walk on a roof, depending on the type of RV you have, unless you, like, some of them obviously have the more walkable roofs, but learning how to be like soft-footed on a roof, sitting up on your roof, looking at your seams, putting your hands on your seams, just kind of looking at the pieces of your RV and kind of seeing how they work together. And I think that is the most important thing you can do, because what you're really doing is just getting a sixth sense for the way things kind of put together. I kind of getting familiar though, like looking in those spaces. Like I've pulled the access panels pretty much off of everything in my RV just so I can kind of see what's back there. And I did this once because I had a dead outlet, and I was on a mission because I'm like, I cannot, because you don't have a lot of outlets in an RV, and if you have a dead one, it like matters. And I'm going through everything. I'm going through my breaker panel. I'm going through the whole RV because I'm like, I guarantee that there is a GFCI somewhere that's tripped and I just can't find it. I pulled all my access panels off and found an outlet way behind there that probably shouldn't be a GFCI outlet that was actually tripped under my sink. And I'm like, okay, it's where because I have an external kitchen. And it's the outlet that my mini fridge is plugged into over there, and I'm like, this one shouldn't probably be a GFCI, but it's just kind of going through that and being curious and just taking things apart. And if you do this, take pictures of it as you're taking it apart, so you can put it back together. Because I chronically have one extra screw no matter what I'm doing.
Oh, right.
So I think that all of the projects that you have done are something to be proud of. But do you have like one mod or one project that you just like, I'm going to tell everybody this was like a shining accomplishment?
Oh, what could it? Well, the most useful mod I've done, I hate dinettes. I hate them. And I actually haven't posted. I don't know if I may not have posted my finished one of I ripped my dinette out and made like a desk that has like monitors mounted on the back. It's it's better. And then the dog kennel can fit next to it. So that one is like a very functional one. But other than that, I installed a hookup for my propane so I could do a quick connect to my Blackstone, because I didn't have like a quick connect. Some of them have quick connects. If you have an RV with a quick connect, right on, but I did not. So it was a lot of kind of figuring out what the right pieces were and where to get them.
I think my favorite video project you've done that I've watched is the roof resealing.
Oh yeah,
I thought that was good. I mean, they're generally good, but I thought that was like, everybody ought to watch this video.
Yeah, it's really a lot of those things up on the roof. They're really easy to do. You just have to get comfortable being up there, and it takes a little time, so you can't move fast. The hardest thing I have is because I'm down in Florida. When I was trying to fix my insert molding, I did pretty much all rails up top and then the front cap, and every time I started doing it, it would start raining. And it was like, I think it rained. It like rained, midday every day for like 4 months, I swear. And so on one of those, I created this little thing, because I then put my leveling lap sealant like by my front cap up there. But then it was going to rain, and I was like, no. So I made like this like awning over top of it out of like some black plastic, and then I put like two tubes of like caulk, and then like the black plastic over top of it, so it was like a little roof over top of it. But like, so I'll do things like that, and I'm like going, I'm like, I can feel like 1-2 raindrops, and I'm like, I will get this done. And then when you're doing it's so annoying because obviously your air conditioner always leaks, like the condensation coming off. That's always dripping. And if you're trying to do new sealant on like a new bead of sealant over there, you don't want it to get wet. So I had I was collecting like a dam of condensation with towels like around the AC so that I had just enough time for that sealant to like build a little skin on it so that if the water, but it's fun to do. And it's like, I did that.
Yeah.
I didn't pay somebody hundreds of dollars to do that. I did that in an afternoon, and I got a sunburn.
Yeah.
So we haven't done this in a while.
I know,
but
we're slacking.
When we have guests who we know are campers or RVers, we've asked it in the opposite way. I'm going to try something a little bit different. Do you want to share your worst camping memory with us?
I would share my worst camping. I just have to figure out what it is. I am like, I am a glass full type of person. Like, good. I would say, oh gosh, which hurricane was that?
It's bad when you have to ask which one.
For the life of me, I can't remember. I don't think it was Tropical Storm Debbie. It wasn't Helene or Milton, but there was another one coming to town, right? And I was still with the fire department, and they were like, "You're getting called back." And I was like, "This is ludicrous. I refuse." And they're like, "You can't." I'm like, "Okay, great." So I was asking around, and I'm like, "Can I just bring my RV to one of these fire stations and park them in one of the huge bays?" And then these guys were all like, "Well, I can't bring my four-wheelers in here." And I was like, there is a difference between my home.
That's not your house.
And your four-wheeler. But I digress. So I was looking everywhere, and things were starting to fill up because everybody starts moving when a storm's coming. And so I called this RV park. It's in Dover, Florida, and it's a really big, nice park. And I called her, and I'm like, "Hey, do you have any spaces? I need to put my rig there." So she let me come out, and I remember, because I'd been full timing, so I was nice and settled. And I remember it was just like rainy and nasty leading up to it. And I still had time, but it was just like grimy. And you ever pack up when it's raining?
Mm-hmm.
Like it just like, there's like little pieces, and if you're in Florida or New Mexico probably too, little pieces of sand everywhere.
Yeah.
And so when you're wet and you're grimy and you're getting sand in like the threads of your hoses, and I hauled my rig to Dover, pulled in there looking like a drowned rat, and it was still raining when I got there. And all I wanted to do, because I was going to sleep that night at that park, and then I was going to immediately drive in back to the area and then sleep on a coworker's couch before shift the following day. It's pouring down rain, and I'm running around trying to like get my hookups going, and my hoses were short. And so it'd been like one of those days that was like, my back hurts, I'm tired, this is stupid. I'm soaking wet, I'm covered in sand, I smell like I just want to eat dinner, I want to be dry, and I want to be in my bed. And I had to find like a Walmart or something that was still open because of the storms, just so I can get an extra length of hose.
Oh, man.
So it was one of those trips. And I just remember I finally got into the RV, and I walk into the bathroom, and when I had left, I had my vent open, my bathroom vent open. And so it was just like, it was one of those where I'm like, I am over it. No more. I never want to do this again. But as soon as I went back in, worked my shifts, and came back out and got it, it was like, I love this. I love RVing. Wouldn't change it for the world.
Which is why we call this StressLess Camping, because it's a goal, not a reality.
Not always
Exactly.
a reality. So let's turn it around and tell us about your very bestest, favoritist camping experience.
Well, when I will call it when I first came to my long-term site that I'm at right now. So I had been in Texas, and then I ended up kind of in the Miami area. And I'm going through this stress of finding a long-term spot, or even finding a temporary spot. And I'm like looking on a map, but I don't really know the Tampa Bay, St. Pete region very well. I called a person, right? And I'm like, "Do you have an open spot and it's a mobile home park?" And they're like, "Yeah." So apparently what they do is when they demolish mobile homes in some of these areas, instead of putting a new mobile home on them, they'll turn them into an RV spot. Okay. And so I was like, perfect, great. And she was like, "Well, do you want to like kind of just do it like short term and see if you like it?" And I was like, "Yes, thank you. Give me an out. I will take it." So I remember the first time I came here, I was like, driving up from Miami is like probably takes 4 hours without towing something, so a little bit longer than that. I'm tired. The sun's kind of setting a little bit, and I'm following GPS because again, I haven't been here. And I'm driving through this little downtown area, and it's right on the water. And I'm like, gosh, this is such a beautiful, beautiful area. Like, what? And so then I'm like, well, it says I'm getting close to my place, but that's impossible. Like, it's impossible. I can't. So it is like right on this little main area. And I pull in, and it is an old mobile home park. Like all like the trailers are like those really old metal ones, super old. And it is a predominantly Latino community, all working class. There's a bunch of little kids running around, and I'm like, where am I? Like, it just was so different than what I was expecting. And this crowd of kids and playing soccer and women came out, and it was a really tiny area. And I'm like, I've got to back that. And there's like no room whatsoever. And this little community just like got behind me and were backing me into my spot. And I'm like, the whole thing is so surreal. And I'm like, where am I? Like, this is great. And they're having barbecues, and there's like Mexican music playing, and like everybody's laughing. And I was like, I feel like I don't deserve to be in this. I feel like this is, I don't know. And so I'm like, okay, I'm going to just go for a walk. I was going to call my mom or something. And I walk across the road, and it's like, I'm walking through this really nice little neighborhood, and it's like a block and a half, and then it's the water. And I was like, are you kidding me? Like, how did I? So now I've been in this spot, and I don't want to leave it, like, ever. But everything just kind of worked out, and I just was like doing like Hail Marys, because all I needed was a place, like any place. If it was somebody's backyard, that'd be fine, you know? And I ended up just throwing the dart at the board and finding this little community that's like 10 out of 10 in this little town that's 10 out of 10, like 2 blocks from the water. And so that, I would say that is my favorite camping story, because I just stayed here forever.
Find heaven.
Yeah. Oh, man. Well, Amanda, it has been a pleasure to get tips from you and to meet you in person. Virtually, but still. And we hope to talk to you again, and definitely keep in touch. It's been a real pleasure speaking with you.
Yeah, it's been great to talk to you guys, and great to meet you. And I would love to touch base any other time.
Yeah.
Sounds good.
Thank you again. As Tony said, thank you for your time and for some fantastic tips and encouragement. I am not going to go climb up on our roof, but I'm going to go do something.
We're up on the roof.
Of the RV. I'm not going to climb on the roof of the RV.
There's a lot of solar panels up there. A lot.
But there is that one panel that I want to look at the electricity behind it. So maybe that will be my afternoon of confidence building.
Sounds good.
Go. May you be empowered.
Absolutely. Thank you, Amanda. Take care.
Thanks.
All right, we are back. So do you feel empowered? Do you feel like you're going to climb up on your roof and do some repairs, or just learn a little more about your RV? Of course, that's probably why you're already listening. Well,
right.
Who knows? Let's say you don't have an RV. How would you get a chance to win one? Well, our friends at Liquified RV, which is our favorite RV holding tank treatment,
for sure,
are giving away an Alliance Delta travel trailer. And you actually don't have to buy anything if you choose not to. They have a survey that they ask you to fill out, and then you'll be entered to win. But for every $1 you spend on Liquified, if you do need some RV toilet tank treatment, you get an entry. And that goes through June 1st of 2025.
Right. And if you use this link that we have posted in the notes, or put on a code, or whatever we've done, all those things, you can also save 10% on your first order.
Yep.
And why not, right?
Yeah.
Even if you don't want to win a travel trailer, you still get 10% off. And if you happen to accidentally win, I guess you could donate it or something.
True. Or just go camping, whatever. But, you know, we did a test a while back. We had a podcast with Josh Sheehan, and he tested all these different tank treatments, and just Liquified knocked it out of the park. And we have found, Peggy will post a image we use Liquified, and our black tank currently shows empty because it just cleans out the black tank.
Yeah.
We run our black tank flush and it shows empty. And that's after 9,000 miles of towing that trailer all over the U.S. So we have used it.
Two 6-week trips already this year.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Well, as Matt says, from Liquified, think of me when you poop. And, great product from friends of ours. A little bit of housekeeping. If you are listening to this as an audio podcast, not much is going to change.
Right.
I know we've been kind of fiddling with StressLess Camping a lot lately. The audio podcast is not going to change other than, right. I mean, little things here or there, but the video, what we've discovered is that there's sort of the informational side of the video, like the interview with Amanda. And then there's the Goofy USA side. And we are going to split those so that Goofy USA has its own playlist and the informational side has its own playlist on YouTube. So if you do watch these on YouTube, now there may be 2 or even 3, like we might put the recipes separately too.
Or gadget reports,
things like that. They might become YouTube shorts.
We don't actually have those this week, so we don't know what we're going to be doing with them. So if you are a listener, know that, and you'd like, every once in a while I might catch a YouTube, know that they're a little more visually appealing than just watching us talk. The Goofy USA segments will have pictures and slideshow kind of things. So if you usually just listen, but you want to go see pictures of Goofy USA, particularly Cadillac Ranch this week, go check us out on YouTube.
That's the fact, Jack. So last week, in our question of the week on our Fun and Friendly StressLess Campers Facebook page, we asked you, how in the heck did you find us?
We did. And I don't know how many times I can keep doing this. I left the previous question of the week about finding Goofy USA destinations. And now I kind of want to keep this one up because I love learning about how long you've been listening and how you found out about us. And I try to respond to everybody, and thank you to those of you who this is your first time, to those of you who have been there since the beginning, to those of you who been there since the middle and went back and listened to everything. Why? Well, I know why, because it's very informative, but
well, that's the goal of the podcast.
Up until a year ago, we only did audio. So I guess it's not something you have to sit and watch 330 hours of.
Oh, my
303 hours of.
So it's interesting, and you can go back and weigh in. But it is, as we record this, it's National Parks Week.
Yeah.
And so we thought we'd figure out what is your favorite national park and why. Bonus for pictures.
Yeah, extra bonus for pictures because, we've been to a few, but there's a lot that we haven't seen. And I want to say national parks, national places, right? That's one of the points that Parkography makes.
Oh, yeah.
It's not only the established parks as called national park, capital N, capital P. It's all those national places, right?
Yeah.
National historic sites and all that stuff. Those all count. So if one of those is your favorite, don't feel like you have to use park.
Yeah. And by the way, Peggy, since she mentioned Parkography, our friends Jason and Abby have a new podcast or video series called Parkography.
It used to be called America's National Parks. And because of recognizing that it's more than just parks, they changed their name and kind of rebuilt themselves. So check it out. It's a very interesting podcast, Parkography.
We will put a link to in the show notes.
A link to the show notes won't do a lot of good. They'll already
right? You can answer the question of the week or ask your own question at our Fun and Friendly StressLess Campers Facebook group.
Also, you can get our weekly newsletter. It's once a week and it's free, and it has links to stories and videos and podcasts and, things that we think will help you get the most out of your RV experience. All you need to do is go to StressLessCamping.com, and anywhere on any page, you'll probably see a link to sign up for our newsletter. Again, it's once a week. because we don't have time to do more, and because we don't want you to start ignoring them because there's too many of them.
I don't get the daily newsletters. Like, how do you come up with that much stuff?
I know.
You can find the show notes for this episode 304, on the podcast page at StressLessCamping.com.
Which is also where you can find our favorite RV products and services. Favorite RV products and services. That's the name of the page that has deals and discounts and some of our favorite, products and services.
We try not to be too confusing because we are confused. Of course, you can also follow us over on the socials, and you can start at StressLessCamping.com, and there's links to all of the places, all the social places where all of us are wasting so much time.
If you don't want to miss a future episode of the StressLess Camping podcast, it is free to subscribe on any audio podcast catcher or on YouTube.
Yeah, you could link, whatever. You could lick YouTube.
Like and subscribe, hit that bell. I don't know, what are all those catchphrases?
Yeah.
Anyway,
Smash that bell.
Smash that button. We are saving you a seat around our virtual campfire.
Yes. Oh, that. Well, we appreciate you being here with us again this week. Thank you so much. And most of all,
StressLess Camping.